Chris Hill.
It is 7:01 on October 11th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can we begin with the pledge to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a move to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Made by Ralph Fidelli, seconded by
Second.
John Midwood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We don't have anyone here for the police report right now, so,
Right outside.
I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm trying to understand how those reports are made. In other words, when we talk about
What
the
reports is that?
The police reports.
Okay.
For example, DWIs.
Why don't you ask him when he comes?
But I don't know if I can
Yeah.
do that because I have to talk at the beginning of the meeting, right? I have to ask at the beginning of the meeting?
I would like to have him here if
Yeah,
he's,
I mean, he can
can you just see if Dave is out there so that he can hear your comments?
Okay. So should I wait till he comes?
Just wait till he'll be right here.
Let's see.
He's speaking with the mayor at the moment.
Do you want to start, Bob?
I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead with Bob, your report, and then we'll come back and as soon as he comes in.
Thank you.
I have a proposal from Easy Street Cleaning to paint the lines out here in the parking lot, the upper and lower parking areas for the town hall. It's $400 for the 13 car stalls and 2 handicap spots.
As we were saying before, that is much cheaper than what it was last time to do the same job. Is there any discussion, any?
These are the lines.
The lines for the parking spots here at the town hall, both upper and lower.
But in the lower, the village.
Okay, the lower, 'cause I don't recall they're not 13.
We've always done.
Not out in front here, no.
Oh, no.
No, but total, between the upper and lower, there's 13,
Okay.
plus the 2 handicaps.
Okay, got it.
We did the town board agreed to do the lower parking area for the convenience of the town hall employees, because most of them park down there. And it helps make the most of the space that's down there.
Got it.
The village doesn't mind.
No, they don't mind.
Very good.
Do you need to make a motion if you're gonna approve that?
Can I have a motion to
So
do the striping? Made by John Merwin, seconded by Chris Kennan. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
The only other thing that we have on the highway thing is our project down on Lower Mill Road has unfortunately had to be put off because we could not keep the water level low enough to be able to do the project. As everyone knows, every few days we've had rain. It's been up over the road there on several occasions. Even when it has gone down, we had a pump in there that, one pump that pumps 6,000 gallons per minute. That was not nearly enough. We had to bring in another pump that also pumps 6,000 gallons per minute. That proved insufficient. It finally got to the point where the DEC had given us up until this Sunday, coming Sunday, to get the project done. There was no way that we could meet that deadline. We expected even more rain today than what we got, although I understand several areas around got 2 inches or better of rain. So we have put in for an extension on our grant. We'll have to see how that turns out. But there was no way, unfortunately, that we could get the project done. We had tried to do it earlier in the year. DEC had held us up on that. We had, the Army Corps of Engineers had also held us up. So we couldn't get it out in time to be able to do it this year. So unfortunately, we're putting in for an extension that will go to the end of next summer. We will try to do it during the summer period when the normal flow there is at its lowest, and we should be fine at that point. Okay, next on here, assessor.
Guys, I just wanted to update you on what's going on in our office. The biggest thing right now is changes that the state has made to the exemption law, specifically for enhanced star and senior exemption holders. I hate to make changes to those people, but we're doing our best to get them informed, get them the paperwork they need so that they get ahead of the game. We're going to be mailing out everything next week, and we'll see how things go. People still have until March 1st, but we're thinking if we give them 4 or 5 months, we might get it straightened out.
Maybe.
So there's just additional paperwork that the state's asking for. So a few years ago, if you remember, they made all the basic star holders register and go through this extra step process. And now basically what they're doing is making the enhanced star people do the same thing. It's just a little extra step that they're going to have to go through to register with the state, and the state has them in their system.
Okay.
No comment on why or if this is going to be good or not, but it's just a process for this year, and we'll try to get through it. I have some pamphlets here that the state prepared for people, but we have prepared our own letter and paperwork that's going to go out in the mail. But if anyone wants to pick something up and start reading through the changes that are being made, it's enough for you guys if you want them. But we'll just take it as it comes. Just make you aware that there are some major changes, and people might be asking questions, but we got it covered.
Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I have a few things under town clerk, if you want to move to me.
Mike, just as well.
Okay. The first thing is, last year we took out a small advertisement in the Weebatuck High School yearbook. I got the order form again. Is the board interested in doing that same advertisement, which was $25 for a quarter page? And it just says congratulations and good luck to whichever the graduating class from the town of Northeast.
I think we can probably scrape that up someplace.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to, made by Ralph, seconded by Chris? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The second item is we have a request for a fireworks display on October 20th. In your packets is the paperwork. I got the application from Warren and the code that's there. I'm still waiting for the rest of the paperwork from the applicant, and we can give him till Monday because it has to be, everything has to be in 5 days prior to the display. I'm not sure if the board is interested in approving that.
And if we don't approve it, then you can't get the permit.
If we don't approve it, he can't get the permit.
No, you've got to approve it, but you can approve it subject to him meeting all the requirements of the permit application, which is mostly governed now by a section of the penal law, which
It's Section
regulates
405.
fireworks.
Right, he would have to give us, he'd have to give a bond, he has to prove bond insurance, he has to
Gotta have a
provide.
map.
Yeah, a map of where it is, which is in your paperwork, of where he wants to, it's on East Indies Road, which is very large tracts of land out there. It says it's no more than 15 minutes, they're commercial grade, and they'll be stored in Connecticut, and then bought here, and then if it rains out, they'll just be brought back to Connecticut.
Okay, with whatever additions,
It's for-
changes
right, it's
have
for-
to be made. Can I have a motion to approve that? Allowing that, the fireworks? Made by Chris, seconded by
Second.
John Midwood. All in favor? Aye. Very good. We still don't have our,
Do you want to do
The-
planning, zoning, building?
well, the planning, zoning, and building reports are on the table. Bulk Trash Day is coming up here next weekend, October 20th, 2018. Will be open in the morning, as it always is. It's a good chance if you have some larger items, things that you want to get rid of, good chance to do that. Metal items, old furniture, bedding, anything of that nature can be taken in. There is a fee schedule that is associated with it, and I believe we have that, or will have it posted on,
It's on the website.
It's on there already.
It's on
Okay.
the community board.
yeah. So if anybody's interested, it's a good chance to get rid of unwanted items. Well, I was kind of hoping that our police representative would be in here so that we could finish that up before we got into the public hearing here. Ah, here.
Just give me 2 minutes,
Okay,
okay?
actually,
You want to approve the Peaceful Valley litigation while we have our assessor here in case?
yes.
She's shaking her head now.
Do that in executive session.
Actually, we kind of discussed it, and I think it may be possible to do it in open session. Do you feel that it needs to be?
If you have any more discussion or questions, I think it's up to you.
I think everyone is aware on the board that a settlement was made in the Peaceful Valley. So that being the case, I think it's possible to have the discussion in open session. That everyone has seen it. I've sent it to the board. They have looked at it. If you would like to just explain, basically what the settlement does is the town is relieved from any back taxes that were that could have been imposed by the court possibly. We therefore our part of the settlement is basically there is no cost to the town on this. If anyone would like to see the settlement, there will be copies that are available in the town clerk's office. And I think we can probably post that on the website as well. With that, does the board have any questions or comments? Okay, then I think can I have a motion to accept the settlement?
So,
Made by John Merlin, seconded by Ralph Fidelli. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Can I have
Dave,
a motion to authorize Ian to sign for it, please?
pardon me?
Can we have a motion to authorize the attorney, Ian McDonald, to sign the settlement on your behalf?
Can I have a motion to authorize the Ian McDonald, the attorney for the case, to sign for this?
Oh,
Made by Ralph and seconded by John Merwin. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Why don't you give your report now? And we do have a question or a comment for you,
Okay,
so.
very good. Good evening, everybody. I don't have last year's statistics for comparison reasons, but for the month of September for this year, we had a total of 34 incidents that we investigated or were involved in. 19 in the town, 15 in the village. Out of those were 4 arrests. We two in the town and 3 in the village, and we cleared a very, very old arrest warrant that we had that was originally a warrant from an incident in the town. It was a driving while ability impaired by drugs, and she finally found her way up into Columbia County, and we picked her up, and she's now posted bail, and we've resolved that. But that was part of the incidents that we had that we included in the town.
Okay.
Nothing of note. We had 1 additional DWI arrest during the month for the town, another one for the village. Put in for one of our officers to be hopefully top cop, Dutchess County, the usual. Haven't heard back from the county yet, so I don't know, but they will have an awards ceremony for those that are accepted on November 15th of next month.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I guess that's pretty self-explanatory, November 15th of next month. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, so yeah, November 15th will be the awards dinner, the Grand in Poughkeepsie.
Okay. Very
All
good.
right?
Hi,
Mary Lou?
I have a question.
And I'm David. I don't.
I'm Mary Lynn Calageris. I
Mary
live in
Lynn.
the town,
Okay.
not in the village. And I'm just wondering, when you say incidents, that means, that's what was basically my question. These are people that are stopped, but maybe not arrested, correct?
No, it has nothing to do with anything. To keep track of, and I think that was just in the recent paper that.
I didn't see that.
To keep track of how many stops every officer makes, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that, because there may be some nights that there's nothing, there may be some nights there may be, 5, 6, 7 stops. So we don't keep track of that. There's no police department that I know of that does that unless it's special detail. We keep track of those statistics when we do a DWI patrol, because that's required by New York State. They want to know how many arrests are gotten for the number of vehicles that are stopped. It's a lot of extra paperwork. It's a requirement, so all the police agencies that participate in that have to keep track of the number of stops. But for all intents and purposes, for regular patrol, it's not something that's really controlled by any police department.
How many would you say of the total are DWI stops, but not necessarily arrests?
If somebody's stopped in their DWI, they get arrested.
How do you know they're DWI?
Through the officer's training. I'm on my 32nd year. When I stop a car and I make certain observations, not that you get everybody every time, I can tell you absolutely. I've stopped people in the past when I was a full-time deputy sheriff that had been stopped by other police, which I had confirmed, and I arrested them for DWI.
There's no process. I guess I'm trying to understand how one gets arrested for DWI.
So when we're all in the academy, for me it was a very long time ago, but when we're in the academy, we're given classes in that. okay?
So the no
And-
breathalyzer or walking a straight line or any of those things that we have heard of? You just sort of look at the person or smell their breath or,
We make observations. You know, we look at the people's eyes, we look at their reactions. One of the big things when more people smoked cigarettes is, you know, I had a DWI patrol for a year and a half back in the mid-90s when I was a deputy. And one of the first things that I noticed when you stopped a car, the cigarette would light up, you'd see the glow of the match or the lighter or whatever, and that would be a real good indicator. I would say probably, you know, especially if it was after midnight, probably, you know, 85 to 90% of the time, if a person lit up a cigarette as soon as they were stopped, it usually led to a DWI.
and then they're taken in, if you think they're drunk, to
Right.
the
And-
station and,
And keep in mind, it's not, this isn't guesswork, okay? When somebody comes to the station, they've already failed sobriety tests, and that's what New York State wants. We've already made a determination they're DWI. Going and having a breath test at the station, that's what the district attorney's office wants, the state wants, they want that number. We don't need that number to know that somebody's DWI. Again, we've already done our sobriety tests. And again, not everybody that's stopped gets
you've
sobriety
done
tests.
observations, not, you've done observations, you come in, then there's a sobriety test. I'm trying to understand what happens.
Right, the person stopped, we make a determination, and a lot of times, you know, and I'm sure that anybody that hasn't been drinking can detect when somebody's got alcohol on their breath. We ask a person questions about it. Sometimes people have had drinks, sometimes they admit to it, sometimes they don't. But, you know, in talking to people, there's, again, we make a lot of observations. I can't, you know, what we learn in, I think it was an 80-hour, 40 or 80 hours worth of, you know, classwork. I can't give you the whole thing of what we're looking for. But again, it takes some time, it takes some training, and, you know, a person right out of the academy knows the procedure, but doesn't necessarily pick up on the same things as somebody that's, you know, that's been doing it for a while. Right.
Okay, I got what I needed, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Do you guys understand?
No, but
I think the-
quick question, how long have you guys had the cameras?
We're
I
testing.
just noticed the cameras.
This is a GoPro. It's probably not what we're going to be using, and it's not on right now. I don't need to record this. But we've been testing them for the last several months. Some of the guys have. So it's we're planning on using a grant from Senator Serino to purchase probably 2 more, and we have a grant that came in. The mayor let us know about that will probably give us enough to get a good start on, you know, good program on being able to capture some of this. It's for the officer's benefit, and, you know, if somebody, we've had people just say, oh, I was stopped for no reason, and the officer was, you know, usually it's not the officer was rude, but, you know, this captures everything we do. So what we see basically shows on the camera. It's not 100%, you know, as we know, you know, you can take video, and people that send it to the newspaper don't, or not to the newspaper, but to the TV, you know, we see what people want us to see. They don't necessarily see the whole thing, but we're just trying to make sure that we do it right and that we capture everything. It's not going to be edited by the officers. It's going to basically go onto a server that I will have access to it, and probably the sergeant will have access to it. And again, nobody's going to be, you know, it's going to be uploaded every night. But that's our goal. And again, that's why I'm saying we're still in the testing phase, but we want to make sure that, you know, we have, we're transparent. We don't want, we don't want any secrets. And if you were to, any of the board members are welcome to ride with us. I'd have to make sure it's okay with the mayor, but I think the answer would be yes. And, you know, whether we go out on a, you know, DWI patrol or whether we're just on regular patrol, we could certainly show you what we do. And again, that should be depicted on the video footage too. So, but
Yeah.
hopefully that will, you know, stop some of the weird, you know, you get a complaint, you can certainly put a complaint to sleep very quickly because you'll have a record of it.
Dave, I think it's got
Sorry, I have a
to
question. Yeah. Hi, Scott Culbrook.
Hi, Scott.
I live in the town. Besides the obvious safety of the village and the town, do you have any other incentives to make more DWI arrests?
When you say incentives, I think it's like what we've heard about traffic tickets. The only revenue we get from any type of ticket or any type of arrest, when I say we, not the police department, the village gets parking ticket money. And the parking ticket money might be $100 a year. It's nominal. It's mostly snow ordinance tickets, and it's a very, very small amount. So DWI arrests, what we get out of it is we make the road safer for you guys. We see people, and again, it's terrible to go through a DWI arrest and have to be processed and everything else. But keep in mind, I drink, I don't drive under the influence. If I found myself someplace, I'd call for a ride, and that's all we expect other people to do too. We don't want to take anybody's fun away. Again, like I said, I drink myself, but the idea behind it is if you're driving under the influence of alcohol, and people say, well, how much can I drink? That's not the point. If you feel any effects of alcohol, if you've had a few drinks and you feel like, I've had a couple of drinks, we all have, we all know what, I'm sure most of us in this room have experienced that. Don't drive a car. We don't have to know that it's a .08. So anyway, we get no incentives, no kickbacks. The officer's time is paid for. If we do a DWI patrol, the village is reimbursed for the officer's time only. We don't get money for gas. We don't get money for repairs on the cars or anything. So we actually, from our budget, that pays for a lot of what we do, including traffic safety.
But you get incentives from the state for other,
We don't get any incentives. We get, the only thing is the officer's salary is paid for, so the village doesn't have to pay for the salary. It's paid for by the state or by the county. We also get county stop DWI money. So the only thing they do is they reimburse the salaries. They don't, in fact, it specifically says, when I complete the grant paperwork, no fringe benefits. They may have 20 years ago, I don't know, it was before my time. But I think they allowed for fringe benefits, which would be fuel or, whatever. I don't really know, but I know now it's absolutely, they will not do anything but pay for the salaries.
Yeah, so recently,
Your
I had
name?
another question. You said that, I have two questions.
What's your
now.
name?
My name's Rachel.
Rachel, okay.
So where does the other grant come from for the body cams? You said
It's coming out of our budget, or
the
small.
mayor, you said the mayor.
The mayor received, I don't have any information on that. I think it was done, I don't think it was somebody who wanted to, wanted any pat on the back for giving the police department a grant.
You know that, or you don't think so?
That's my understanding that.
So the
but-
mayor told you that you have a grant from an anonymous person or
Correct.
agency?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Now, I spoke with a police officer recently who told me that recruits especially get incentives, like younger police officers when they get their review for promotion or for,
You talked to a Millerton police officer?
no, another policeman in New
Okay.
York State, and he brought it up. So when Mr. Culbreth talked about incentives, that was my first thought, not a monetary one. So is there not a process by which
I'm not aware
officers,
of any incentives. That would be.
as far as promotion, I guess maybe we're word playing, but is there any?
How are you?
If an officer has a review.
Nobody signs
you've been
in.
the business for a long time.
What's going on here?
Under your impression or is your impression that, or are you aware of a young officer or any officers being reviewed for how many DUIs or DWIs they've, and that being?
It has never been a part. I've worked for the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office. I've worked for Millerton PD. I know a lot of the other local agencies. I don't know about the state police. Certainly the state police want people to make arrests so that if you have a lot of arrests, they'll certainly look at you, you know, for an investigator, for a PCI investigator. And if somebody doesn't do anything,
Even though she's not
it wouldn't be a
a
very good investigator. So
Or just 'cause you're a nice
that's
guy.
an incentive. I wouldn't say that's an incentive, but I'm sure that's part of their evaluation process. For my department, we have me, who's the officer in charge, we have one sergeant, and the rest are patrolmen. There's no, you know, nobody currently wants to be the sergeant, except the person that is the sergeant. And, you know, I'm the
You must have
person.
misunderstood. It was someone from Dutchess County
Okay.
talking about promotions.
Yeah, I'm not and I can tell you this, I'm on my, almost ready to complete, in January I'll complete 32 years. I have never known this to be an incentive. And again, if somebody does a good job and somebody's active, we certainly don't want police to, you know, sit in a patrol car and not have any, you know, not do anything all night long.
That's great, thank you.
Are the
Okay,
DWIs used?
I'm going to have to cut this off because we're already running way far behind on a public hearing.
Okay.
And if you want to go to the website, my email should, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure it's on there. You're welcome to
Thank
email
you.
me and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Okay,
All right. Thank you very much. Sorry to take so much time.
not at all.
Have a good evening, guys.
I'd like to open the public hearing on accepting the Water District Number 1 Benefit Assessment Roll. Do we have any,
Need a motion to.
can I have a motion to open that public hearing?
Second.
Made by John Midwood, seconded by Chris Kennan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone have any questions, comments, anything else on the Water District Number 1 Benefit Assessment Rule? Yes.
Could I just ask for a very brief description of what the benefit assessment role is?
Water district.
It's
Water district.
for anyone that's in the town of Northeast Water District, that's separate from the village, that their property is assessed for a certain units each year. And it remains, like one single family home's 100 units, vacant land's 50, then it goes up. So that's how many units are on your tax bill for your Northeast water.
So this is for
Was
properties
that
that
correct,
get,
Catherine? And was that-
Yeah.
they get water from the village water supply.
Yes,
But
just
they're in
those
the-
parcels that
just the
benefit
parcels.
from the village water supply, yes. Whether
Thank
or
you.
not they use the connection, some people have their own wells, whether or not they use it, they are benefiting because they are, can have a connection. And that's what that reflects.
If you'd like a copy of it, we can get you a copy of it, Bill. But it gives right on the side, you know, it explains it, you know.
So the point of this is if somebody doesn't agree with their assessment, they can file a complaint form and then the board would have to, you know, review that complaint form and either agree with the property owner or disagree, but this is something we do every year.
It's an annual thing, yep.
Something in October.
Any other discussion? All right, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So
Made by John Merwin, seconded by
Second.
Ralph Fidelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I get a motion to
And
accept
can I
that?
have a motion to accept the Water District Number 1 Benefit Assessment Rule?
So moved.
Made by Ralph Fidelli, seconded by
Second.
John Midwood. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is continuation of the open public hearing on local law number 3, a law to regulate solar energy systems. Can I have a motion to, actually, we're still in open session, so. Are there any comments? We have made one change to the law, and that is concerning the setback, and it now reads, no part of any structure shall be closer than 100 feet to any property line or to any public road. However, the planning board shall have the authority to impose greater setbacks as it determines necessary to preserve the rural character and scenic qualities of the surrounding community or to mitigate adverse visual impacts of the solar farm facility.
That's specifically for solar farms, right?
That's for the solar farms, yes. Yep.
Also, last time we were waiting for any comments from the planning board, and they did not have any additional comments.
Yep. Yes, Catherine?
I was looking at the definition for solar thermal systems, slightly different from the PV systems that I think this is mostly focused on. But there was one definition on page 4, the last definition for a solar thermal system, which is this solar system but based on water, not electricity, has water running through them. It says solar energy system that directly heats water or other liquid using sunlight. The heated liquid is used for such purposes as space heating and cooling, domestic hot water, and heating pool water. So that reads to me like a smaller residential kind of use thing. And then when you look on page 6 in the permitting and approval requirements, it says that solar thermal systems that generate hot water or electricity primarily for use on-site shall be permitted in all zoning districts, which is great, but shall require a special permit if ground mounted. And I just feel that special permitting for a small residential use is kind of overkill. And I'd like you guys to reconsider requiring a special use permit for a small residential use of a solar thermal system.
I notice we have Yon here. Yon, do you have any comment on?
I think it's a good point. I don't have a comment on, I don't have the law in front of me, and I don't have a comment on that. But it seems to me we probably have to go back and look at it. But I don't have a...
Do you need a copy? So if he wants to see what she's discussing.
Let me, can I look at yours?
I have a question, if I can ask it quickly. Is there an opportunity for seeking a variance in any of that if your, setbacks or something are limited, or you had the desire to put a solar installation somewhere that was specifically prohibited? Is there any opportunity to go before?
You could take it to the ZBA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that no, I think the reason for this is that solar thermal systems can be mounted on the roof. You can put one on the roof.
Potentially, but they are very heavy, so most of the ones that I know of are ground mounted. And we're not talking about a big commercial size operation, we're talking about a...
I think that was the logic behind here's the basic point, which is that if something is roof mounted, it's like solar panels, which are roof mounted, which don't require special use permits. The theory is that this is not likely to have a visual impact on the neighbors or the environment or whatever, so you don't need to go through the special use permit. But if it's ground mounted, it may. Now, I think that's the reason for the distinction, Catherine. Now, if you're telling me that solar thermal systems are basically, I don't know what the maximum size of one of those could be.
I've seen the units, it specifically defines it as something to heat hot water or cool water. We're not talking about a huge array.
Well, except it can also be used, it can be used to, going back to the definition, space heating and cooling. It could be presumably used to heat a 10,000 square foot house. I mean, which could be quite large. I mean, I think that's the point of the distinction there. That sound right, Warren?
Yes, that's the reason. It could have a visual, depending on the size of the facility, could have a visual impact on neighboring properties. That's why most solar laws have that requirement. The ones I've been involved in have had identical requirements.
Yeah, so
That makes sense for a large system, but maybe there could be, I mean, if somebody's just putting up one little unit to heat their pool, I hate to see them have to go through the whole process. Maybe it could be something that's size oriented or some kind of other restriction. I don't know, just,
well, I'll leave it to the town. I think we'd have to revisit that and then, you know, probably go get some further advice from Ken or somebody else about the size of these.
Yeah, it sounds like strapping a size on it would take care of it.
But then we have to get a, you know, then we have to.
You have to figure out a threshold for the size of it.
You have to have some.
It's not that easy a tweak.
Yeah, you have to have some rationale for the size limitation that you're going to put. I mean, well, this is a subject for the board, and this law, after all, can be amended, and it's been a long time in gestation. So I'll leave it to the board on whether they want to do that. And let me make one comment about the amendment which you read to the setback requirement. Of course, in Northeast, zoning boards, the ZBA issues special use permits. And so basically, by giving the setback, in effect, what you're doing is you're giving the setback requirement, making it not part of the special use permit. This is for solar farms, the law, but giving it to the planning board. I don't care about that, but I think I had drafted it to give it to the ZBA.
I thought we had changed that.
Well, what George just read gave it to the planning board.
Take another look. Because we did, that was originally, and then we made a change to that.
Yeah.
Maybe we have the wrong copy.
I have complete faith in the planning board.
No, the intent was to have the ZBA do it.
Yeah, that's certainly how I had drafted it.
You have the red line copy? I was just looking at it.
It's right here, it's on page 12G.
So what, does it say planning board or zoning board?
Yeah, it says no
Says
part of
planning.
any structure shall be closer than 100 feet to any property line or to any public road. However, the planning board shall have the authority to impose greater setbacks as it determines necessary to preserve the rural character and scenic qualities of the surrounding community or to mitigate adverse visual impacts of a solar farm facility. Most planning boards do special use.
No, yeah, no, but we had
Yeah.
caught that and we had changed that, because I remember that you emailed me and then I changed it, so I'm just wondering if the wrong version was sent to the board. That's the problem. I think we can make that change now and just indicate that it's the zoning board of appeals, not the planning board. Because it is, in most municipalities, the planning board issues special use permits. And I don't think it's that great of a change that we need to wait another month. Zoning Board of Appeals. So you need to tell me whether you want to revisit that other issue that was raised by the assessor.
What's the board's pleasure on that?
Warren made a point earlier where he said we can make an amendment, we can study it later, make an amendment if necessary.
I'd be inclined to move forward, and if this proves to be a problem, we can come back and.
We can amend it at that point.
I agree.
Everyone in? Okay. With that then, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So,
Made by John Merwin, seconded by Chris Kennan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And with the correction to the amendment, can I have a motion to,
Do you want me to read the resolution?
No, we can't do it until I have to
Oh,
quickly do the environmental review.
that's right, yes.
So I might as well do that now. So we already did the part one of the full EAF. It is a type 1 action technically, but it's a local law that regulates solar facilities. It's not a site-specific project. The part 2 of the EAF, I'll just go through it. I've already answered these questions. If you disagree with what I've concluded, let me know as I go through it. Will the proposed action have an impact on land that may involve the construction or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site? I answered that no, because the local law will not do that. 2, would the proposed local law have result in modification or destruction or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site? Again, there's no specific site, so I answered no. 3, would the proposed action have one or more impacts on wetlands or other surface water bodies? And again, answered no. 4, will the proposed action result in any new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to the groundwater or an aquifer? No. 5, will the proposed action result in development on land subject to flooding? No. 6, the proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source? No. 7, will the proposed action result in loss of flora or fauna? No. 8, proposed action may impact agricultural resources? No. 9, the land use, will the proposed action have any impact on aesthetic resources? In that the proposed action is obviously different or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource? No. 10, will the proposed action have any impact on historic or archaeological resources? I answered no. 11, will the proposed action result in the loss of recreational opportunities or reduction in open space resources designated in any adopted municipal open space plan? Answered no. 12, will the proposed action be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area? I answered no. 13, will the proposed action result in any change to existing transportation systems? No. 14, will the proposed action cause any increase in the use of any forms of energy? I answered no. 15, will the proposed action result in any increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting? I answered no. 16, will the proposed action have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants? I answered that no. 17, is the proposed action not consistent with the adopted land use plans? I answered no. 18, will the proposed action be inconsistent with the existing community character? I answered no. Then I went on to complete a Part 3 evaluation of the magnitude and importance and determination of significance. Even though you're not required to do a Part 3 analysis, I have a fairly expensive explanation, which is derived in large part from the zoning law itself, about the ways that the zoning law itself will have a positive energy-saving impact on the municipality, and that there is enough safeguards built into the law itself so that each project would be evaluated depending on the size of the project, and any environmental impacts would be mitigated. Solar farms are subject to quite a rigorous siting and review requirement when they're proposed. So with that in mind, if everybody's in agreement, I would just ask someone to make a motion to accept the Part 2 and Part 3 analysis and indicate that there is no reason for the preparation of a draft environmental impact statement. And in fact, this would be it's included in our resolution already. So actually, when you get to the resolution, you'd be adopting that. So we don't have to have a separate vote on that. Any questions or problems? Okay, good. And we've completed our environmental review. Essentially, the resolution has a negative declaration in there, secret declaration.
Okay. Whereas the town of Northeast has determined that it is in the best of the community and its citizens to provide for and encourage renewable energy systems and sustainable quality of life, and to that end, that a local law should be adopted to provide for the permitting and establishment of solar energy systems and facilities within the town of Northeast. And whereas the town board appointed an advisory committee to work with the attorney to the town to produce a local law to regulate such solar energy system within the town. And whereas the committee, with the assistance of the attorney to the town, drafted a proposed local law to regulate solar energy systems and submitted it to the town board on August 9th. Whereas the town board reviewed the proposed local law and determined that the local law was acceptable for purposes of commencing the local law adoption process. Whereas the town board determined that this is a type 1 action under seeker and that the town board is the only involved agency in the seeker process. Whereas the attorney to the town prepared a Part 1 of the full environmental assessment form to be utilized by the town board in conjunction with the seeker review process, which was adopted by the town board on August 9th. Whereas the town board declared itself to be lead agency with regard to seeker and scheduled a public hearing for the adoption of local law number 3, 2018 for September 13th, 2018 at 7:25 in the afternoon. Whereas the town clerk duly posted and published notice of public hearing as required by law and forwarded a copy of local law to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for its review and comments pursuant to General Municipal Law 239M and the Northeast Planning Board for its review and comment. Whereas the town board opened the public hearing on local law on September 13th, received public comment, and closed the public hearing on October 11th. Whereas the town board reviewed and completed Part 2 of the full environmental assessment form and completed Part 3 of the environmental assessment form for purposes issued in secret determination. Whereas the town board determined that this action will result in no significant impact on the environment and that the environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Whereas Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development determined that this action was a matter of local concern and had no comments. Whereas 30 days has expired since the referral of the local law to the planning board, and the planning board has submitted no comments on said local law. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby adopts local law 3 of 2018 entitled A Law to Regulate Solar Energy Systems, and be it further resolved that the town board hereby directs the town clerk to file a copy of said local law with the Department of State as required by law. And be it further resolved that the town board directs the town clerk to publish the town's negative secret declaration in the environmental notice bulletin of the Department of Environmental Conservation as required by secret regulations. And then you just need to make a motion and the roll call.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Made by John Merwin, seconded by Ralph Fidelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need a roll call.
George?
Aye.
John?
Aye. Aye.
Chris? John?
Aye.
Aye.
So can you make that one change? What do you want? Okay, and then you have to file it with the environmental notice bulletin. The only other issue we have with regard to the solar law is that solar projects are exempt under, I think it's section 485 of the tax law from taxation for a period of 15 years. You can require that, you can opt out of that by requiring that they're not passing a local law requiring that they are subject to taxation. What we've been doing in our other municipalities is that we've been exempting everything except for solar farms from taxation, and we have created a pilot program for the solar farms. There are different ways in which you can create a pilot program local law, and I've sent it on to the assessor. So usually I'm guided by what the assessor would like to do in these circumstances. So when our assessor has reviewed that information that I've sent, makes a recommendation to the town board, we can create a pilot local law if you're amenable to it. We found in the other municipalities where we have solar laws that the solar farm industry expects that there will be a requirement of a pilot law. And the pilot law will basically enable you to recoup a certain amount of the taxation that you would lose through the exemption. And it's just a matter of how we set it up and how much you're going to require as a pilot payment. So we don't have to do that tonight, but we really should attend to that, because if an application comes in before we have the pilot law in place, it won't be subject to that. So if our assessor could give us by next month a recommendation on that, and then I can look at it and then discuss with you proposed law, we can take care of that expeditiously.
Good, and I think we can,
I can initially say that I definitely recommend keeping the exemption in place as it is, because it does help at least the residential people. We want to make sure that the residential solar systems are still going to be benefiting and are still something that people want to do, and having that exempt is good for them. So definitely keep the exemption, but pilot program on larger projects would definitely be my recommendation, and just how to set it up, as Warren said, is
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Okay.
I should say it a little louder.
Yeah.
He couldn't.
The whole thing?
Couldn't hear.
No, just the end part.
No, the end part.
Pilot program.
What I need is, I think what you said was that you're exempting residential, but not the
yes.
solar farm.
not the
Well,
solar
you
farm.
would be exempt, the solar farm would be exempt, but the pilot program would make them pay taxes in lieu of
That's
Okay,
correct.
no
that,
tax.
right? So
Right.
they're still being exempt, completely exempt, and
So I just need,
for county and school purposes, they would still remain exempt, but we would at least be able to recoup something
Right.
with the
Right.
pilot program.
so I would just need to know what type of exemption you would prefer. I mean, I gave you examples. There's NYSERDA has made a recommendation for an exemption, a pilot program for municipalities. We did in town of Hyde Park, we just set the exemption at, that they would have to pay 75% of what the taxable amount would be. And this would be the increase in the assessment of the property by virtue of the improvements that are on there. And we've negotiated a couple now with the solar operators, and we found that it was not difficult to come to terms. So my recommendation would be, rather than a NYSERDA version, would be to do have it negotiated on a case-by-case basis with a certain limit. So it would be no less than 80% or 90% of the taxes that would normally be imposed. And that's, instead of going, we found the NYSERDA proposal is too complicated. And my assessors in other municipalities didn't want to do it that way. So if you want to think about it.
They want to base it on megawatts, and it makes it a very complicated formula, I agree.
It's very
A
complicated.
straight up percentage would be the way to go.
So my recommendation would be that we just do a simple pilot program. I can set it at maybe 80%, or no more than 80 or 90%, and then we would negotiate it on a case by case. I think that's the best way to go. And they're fully expected when they come in to do these projects that they're going to sit down and negotiate with you, and they have it all figured out. So I'll take care of that. I'll send a copy to the assessor before we adopt it. Now we're done with solar for tonight.
Okay. Next is the presentation of the 2019 tentative budget to the board, and I believe you all have copies of that. You can look them over, and following that, we will set the public hearing date for the 2019 budget as November 8th at 7:15. And for the public, there will be copies either available in the town clerk's office or on the website.
A motion to set that public hearing?
Can I have a motion to set the public hearing for 7/15 on November 8th? Made by Ralph Fidelli, seconded by Chris Kennan. All in favor? Aye. Next is permission for the supervisor to sign the CDBG grant joint application with the Village of Millerton to replace the sidewalks on the south side of Main Street. They have not drawn up that application yet, but it will be probably before our next meeting. So if you could allow me to sign it.
So moved.
Thank you, Ralph. Motion made by Ralph, seconded by John Merwin. All in favor? Aye. Next is permission for the supervisor to sign the 2018-2019 soccer contract. This is a standard thing, something we do every year. Can I have a motion? Motion by Chris Kennan, seconded by John Midwood. All in favor? Aye. Next is, I believe you have a resolution to hold a public meeting on the draft north.
No, you missed one.
Announcement.
I'll tell you what, let me do this one first, and then I'll go back and pick that. On the draft north Eastern Dutchess EMS services study. What this is we received a grant from the county for $40,000 to do a study on EMS. That would cover 3 municipalities on the eastern side of the county. That is actually northeast, actually 4, counting the village. Town of Northeast, the village of Millerton, Amenia, and Dover. This is the result of that study. There is going to be an explanation and presentation of that EMS study on October 24th at 7 o'clock at Amenia Town Hall. This will be open to the public. Please come and listen. It is an important study. It will determine, help to determine anyway, how we may progress on this issue in the future. Would you like to read the resolution on it?
It's whereas the towns of Amenia, Dover, Northeast, and the Village of Millerton have received a report entitled Northeast Dutchess Emergency Medical Services, Existing Operations and Options for the Future. And whereas said town and village have determined that there will be an informational public hearing held on the current and future state of emergency medical services. Now therefore be it resolved that an informational public hearing on the current and future state of emergency medical services in northeastern Dutchess County will be held on October 24th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the Amenia Town Hall, 4988 Route 22, Amenia, New York. This hearing is jointly sponsored by the towns of Amenia, Dover, Northeast, and the Village of Millerton. And be it further resolved that the focus of the evening will be a presentation on the report Northeast Dutchess Emergency Medical Services, Existing Operations and Options for the Future. The report is a comprehensive review of the existing EMS systems in the 3 towns and village. It has also suggested several different options for the communities to consider as they seek to develop a sustainable, high-quality, patient-centered model of EMS. The report is intended to assist in improving this essential service in their community, and be it further resolved that the report can be accessed online after October 10th on the project website at www.cgr.org/NEDEMS. Paul Bishop, the lead consultant from CGR, will make the presentation and will be available for questions. This project is being funded by the Dutchess County Municipal Innovation Grant Program, and be it further resolved that for questions prior to the hearing, please contact George Kay, Town of Northeast Supervisor.
Could I have a motion to accept the resolution? Made by John Midwood, seconded by
I'll second it.
John Merwin.
I need a roll call. George?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Ralph?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And John.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is announcement of the 2018 Municipal Innovation Grant, the Shared Services Grant. We applied back, when was it, Chris? No.
Couple of months, more than.
Several months ago, yes, for the Shared Services Grant. We had originally had a county executive come to our a meeting here with Dutchess County Planning, Owen Rafter, and we explained to him that we were trying to do a project that entailed 3 different phases for a highway garage. The first phase of that is a storage building. Second phase, storage building and fuel facility. Second phase, a salt storage shed. And third phase, the highway garage itself. The county exec and planning department were very much in favor of this, looked on it very favorably as the type of project that they wish to promote under the Shared Services Grant. Basically because it would bring both the town and the village highway departments into one building. And hopefully that at some point in the future, that we may be able to hopefully combine those services. Based on that, they have awarded us $240,000 in a grant to do the engineering, legal aspects of this project. We just had a meeting tonight that partially determined how we're going to do this, and since the original part of the request was for $383,000 for the entire engineering aspect of the program, and we have received $240,000, which I might say for any municipality is the largest amount that any municipality has received in the county. So we feel very good about it. We appreciate it very much. We will be going back in again next year for some more grant money. But we at least we feel that we're making some headway here. Are there any questions or anything from the board on this?
No, I think both you and Chris and everybody that's worked on this project, I mean, obviously the need is extreme.
Yes, I must say that Chris wrote the grant for this, so we appreciate that very much.
Well, it's, a lot of people have talked about why don't the town and the village do things together. This is really, there could be no bigger or more dramatic example of where the town and the village will be trying to work together than the highway garage. So I think it's still going to be a ways off, but it's a great first step.
Actually, for the county, we are kind of the poster child for joint services, combining joint services between municipalities. And I know they're looking very carefully at us, and hope to see our highway departments joined at some point in the future. Okay, with that, the next thing on our agenda is the addition of sections on domestic partners and sexual harassment to the employee handbook. I believe you have in your package there, the section on sexual harassment that will be utilized for the handbook. This has been given to us, or we have actually purchased from our HR department. It meets all of the criteria that was set up by the state. And it is rather extensive, as you can see. There's quite a bit to it. It's not something really simple. It requires several different things be done, and some of them in the near future here. So, the other, on the domestic partners, I've been in contact with them, and while they have the draft that Warren had drawn up before, there were a couple of things which we asked to have them correct. Those are being made now, but I think in essence we've already been over, discussed those. I would like to, if we could, can I have a motion to accept both of those additions?
You want me to read the resolution?
You want to read the resolution, please? Yeah.
Whereas the town board has determined it would like to provide for medical coverage for domestic partners of town employees, and that it would also like to cover domestic partners under the current bereavement leave and the family medical leave policy. Whereas the attorney to the town has drafted certain proposed amendments to the employee handbook to provide language to be included in the employee handbook to provide such coverage. And whereas the town's human resource consultant, public sector HR consultants shall provide the necessary amendments to the employee handbooks to provide for such coverage. Whereas public sector has also drafted a proposed amendment to the non-discrimination and harassment in the workplace provisions of the employee handbook to comply with recent requirements of the New York State Department of Labor and the New York State Division of Human Rights. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby approves the amendments of the town employees handbooks to include necessary provisions of coverage for domestic partners for family medical coverage, bereavement leave, and medical leave. Be it further resolved that the town board hereby approves necessary amendments to the employee handbook to provide for non-discrimination and harassment in the workplace policies as annexed hereto. This motion was made and offered by
So moved.
John Midwood makes the motion, seconded by John Merwin. All aye.
John.
Aye.
Ralph.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
And John.
George,
Yes.
it just might be worth noting that the second part of that, the non-discrimination harassment, applies to elected officials as well as employees. So
And we all have to go through the training, yes, yes. Yep. Are you trying to insinuate something here?
Nothing at all, just want people to know that it applies to us.
All right, next is supervisor's report. We have,
Excuse me, you don't need me to.
no, I don't think so. I think we're all set.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Warren.
Good weekend.
We have a budget adjustment, number 8 for 2018.
I always leave something.
From A Fund, general townwide, we have an expense increase of $4,022, less a revenue increase of $4,022. From DB Fund, highway town outside, we have an expense increase of $2, less a revenue increase of $2. And that is it for the budget adjustment for this month. Can I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Made by Ralph Fidelli, seconded by Chris Kennan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I, this is for the soccer contract, can I just get your signature?
We have a special abstract dated September 25th, 2018, totaling $786.39, broken down as follows. A fund, $576.24. Payroll, TNA, $210.15. Can I have a motion to accept the special abstract? Made by John Merwin, seconded by
So moved.
by Ralph. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm just trying to read the signatures. I don't recognize anybody.
First needs to sign it.
I got that. Thanks.
We have an abstract dated October 11th, 2018, totaling $158,696.35, broken down as follows. A fund, $47,936.33. B fund, $44,439.36. DB fund, $66,320.66. Can I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So moved.
Made by Ralph Fidelli, seconded by Chris Kennan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is the voucher committee for next month, and that is Ralph and John Midwood. And then we have the minutes from the last meeting, and I know that Chris has some.
I got a couple of things that I picked up
Yep.
on that. On page 1, the highway motion made by Councilman Midwood, seconded by Councilman Midwood. Can't be everywhere at once. Second, on the resolution for the override of the tax levy limit, we have Jim Campbell
Okay.
and others who shouldn't be on, George K. twice. And then lastly, on the last page, general comment period, Bill Kish's comment wanting to know if NDP was amenable, not amiable.
Okay.
Right, that's what I had.
Well, you're friendly.
Well, yeah.
Also, there's something about the Northeast Historical Society, and you have to change whom to who. I mean, that's
Typo.
Okay.
Would you want a motion to approve the minutes as?
I have one
Okay.
correction too, just in, minor thing here, but it says here about between any of the property boundaries, and it should be from the major roadways. With those corrections, can I have a motion to accept those minutes? Made by Chris Kennan, seconded by
second.
Ralph Fidelli. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Since we've already finished with our meeting with council, do we have any comments, any questions from the audience? Bill?
What is the timeline for the revised signed regulations, if you know?
Actually, I don't know for sure. I wish you'd asked it a little earlier, because Yolan was here, and
If I see him, I'll ask him.
there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Made by John Midwood, seconded by... Nobody wants to go? Yeah. By Chris Kennan. All in favor?